Hello everyone, welcome to the video series of NAT in Palo Alto Firewall. In this video series, we will see how we can configure NAT on Palo Alto Firewall. So we will replicate few examples related to source NAT, destination NAT, static NAT, and we'll also replicate few examples related to U-turn NAT as well. I would recommend you guys to refer your notes first, clear your concepts, and then start replicating these labs. So this is the topology we will follow throughout this video series. So in this video we have a Palo Alto firewall. This Palo Alto firewall is connected to internet via 203.115.100.106 IP address, and that is part of untrust zone. Then we have one test machine and router R1 connected in LAN zone with subnet 136.1.125.0/24, and then in the DMZ we have a subnet 136.1.126.0/24. So in this series we will take use of these three zones, LAN, DMZ and untrust. For this test network, once we will be doing content ID and user ID, then we will use Active Directory in this topology and the attacker machine. So let's review the assignment, what all tasks we will be implementing in this video series. So first task in this assignment is corporate LAN network, which is 136.1.125.0/24, should be able to access internet via firewall interface IP address, which is 203.115.100.106. So let's log into the firewall and implement security policy, NAT policy, and then from LAN machine we will try to access the internet. So let me go to the firewall first. So on the network, in the interfaces, we have all the IP addresses configured. They are in respective zones, LAN, internet, DMZ and test network, and every interface is part of single default virtual routing table. If we go to policies, there is no security policy as of now, just implicit policies related to intra-zone and inter-zone. And then if you go to NAT, again there is no policy, so we have to start from the scratch. So first let's create a NAT policy. Click on add button, specify policy name as internet access, go to original packet. So source zone, from which zone the traffic will be initiated. So as per the topology, source zone here is LAN, destination zone will be internet. We'll keep destination interface as any because we have just one interface configured in internet zone. We will not focus much on the service part here because that we will discuss once we will be doing application identification. So we'll keep service as any here. Then go to source address. 136.1.125.0/24 is the source subnet. You can also create an object and then call that object here. Then destination would be any because we are going to access internet. Click on translated packet. Now under translated packet, for many to one in case of Palo Alto will be implemented using dynamic IP and port. So select dynamic IP and port. There are now two options. One is translated address and second is interface address. So interface address we will select in this case because we are going to do a NAT with the interface IP address which is facing internet. So go to interface. I'm not sure what exactly is that interface. So let me see. No, it is not 1/2, maybe 1/3. Yes, it is 1/3, 203.115.100.106. So select that interface and click on OK. So we have a NAT policy setup. So go to security, click on add, name policy as internet access, go to source, source is LAN, source network is 136.1.125.0/24, destination zone would be internet, destination address as any. So we'll keep that application section as any, because we'll start implementing policies once we will do a theoretical session on the application identification, how does it work in case of Palo Alto firewall. So we'll keep that option as any till the time application identification is not done. So service, it will be again application default. What exactly is this option? We will discuss that again in application identification. Go to action, and action is set to allow. So we do not have license as of now on this box. So logging, if enabled or disabled, doesn't impact anything. So let me disable this logging. We will verify everything with the help of session table entries. So click on OK. So we have a security policy and NAT policy in place. I just want to verify if we have a right default route on the firewall to reach to the internet. So click on default, go to static route, and verify if we have default routes. So we have a default route pointing towards internet. That's good. Click on OK, and then commit the changes. I need to log into the test machine so that we can access internet connectivity. So if you go to the topology, so this is the LAN machine 136.1.125.125 IP address. I have taken RDP access. So once you will refer your lab setup document, you will be able to get to know how to do a RDP on this test machine. So go to command prompt. Let's verify if we are on the right IP, on the right machine. So 192.168.70.125 is the management IP address of this machine, and then 136.1.125.125 is the IP address from which the request will be initiated. So I feel a policy has been pushed. Okay, now go to just do a basic test with ping 8.8.8.8, and that way we'll be able to verify if we are able to reach internet. I can ping successfully. We can go to browser and try accessing basic applications over the internet like google.com, and then we should be able to test this NAT rule. So let me open google.com. So I can access Google as well. So let me go back to the firewall CLI and now see in the session table how the traffic is getting netted. So come back on my base machine, log into the firewall CLI 192.168.70.106. Username and password you will get in the document. You can use that. Let me quickly change some font and color settings. So go to colors, foreground, and okay. Now show session all is the command to see the session table entries, and then you can do a filtering with the filter keyword. So for example, we want to do a filter based on source IP address. So 136.1.125.125. That's the IP address. We could see so much traffic. So source IP address 136.125.125, then source port 1065, source zone LAN, and then protocol as 6. Destination IP address is 117.182.37.29, and destination port is 80, and zone information is internet. Now if you see here in the parallel, the source IP address has now been modified to 203.115.100.106, which is the firewall interface IP address, and source port also has been modified from 1065 to 575865, and that's the right behavior of port address translation, which in case of Palo Alto is dynamic IP input. So let's move to task number 2 and see what exactly we have to done. So task number 2 says a loopback on R1, which is 130.1.1.10, should be able to access loopback 140.1.1.0/24 behind R2 via one virtual IP address. So I do not have a virtual IP address as of now to replicate this lab over the internet. So we will be replicating this lab when we want to do a NAT with a virtual IP address from LAN to DMZ. So we will be accessing R2 loopback from R1 loopback, and NATing will be done with the virtual IP address in 136.1.126 space, and that IP address is 150. So let's replicate this. Again, back to firewall, go to policies, go to NAT and click on add. So R1-R2 is the name of the policy. Source zone in this case will be any LAN. Destination in this case would be DMZ. Again, destination interface services any. Source network 130.1.1.0/24. This time destination is fixed, which is 140.1.1.0/24. Good. Go to translated. This time dynamic IP input, but no interface IP address. This time translated address, and the translated address would be 136.1.126. Let me verify the IP again. 150. Okay, go back. 150. Good. So this is the virtual IP address. As you guys know, no proxy ARP specific configuration related to proxy ARP is required, because Palo Alto does proxy ARP by default for the NATed IP address. So click on OK. So we have a NAT rule setup. Go to security. I'll prefer to update the same security policy. That's a good advantage in Palo Alto Firewall. We can have multiple zones in a single security policy. If you guys want to create a separate policy, you can do that as well. So LAN is good. I will add another subnet here, which is 130.110/24. Destination is DMZ, and then 140.1.1.0/24. So you guys actually need to create a new policy, because the moment I will select this new subnet, any checkbox will be unchecked. So you guys should try with a different policy altogether. So application, we will keep that as any, and then service any, action allow. Okay, good. 130, 140 LAN to DMZ, we are good. And then let's verify the routing. So 130, we have a route pointing towards 136.1.125.115, which is the router, and for 140 we have a route pointing towards R2. So routing is good on the firewall. Click on commit, and let me log into the routers. So this is my router R1. We have a loopback address, we have a physical interface IP address. Let me verify the routing. Default route is pointing towards firewall. Similarly, I'm on router R2. We have a loopback 140.1.1.1, then physical interface, and then one management IP address. And let me verify the routing. So routing is good here as well. Let's wait for the policy to push. Policy has been applied. Let's try to ping 140.1.1 interface 130.1.1.1, and we should see a NAT with the virtual IP address in the session table entry. So ICMP is good. Go to the firewall, and this time we will have a filter on 130.1.1.1. So if you see, 130 to 140 traffic is getting NATed via IP address 136.1.126.150, and this time traffic is traversing from LAN to DMZ. So this is also working in case of assignment number 2. So that's all for this video. You guys need to do one more lab in case of source NAT using dynamic IP input, and that will be you should create a pool, and the traffic has to be NATed via that pool because of the scalability of the NAT. Thank you very much. Hope you are enjoying video series from Troika system.